Welcome to Should I Read It? Should I Read It is a weekly podcast that takes a deep dive into books. I'll provide a summary of the book and tell you how the ideas in the book relate across all the books we've covered so far. Welcome to Should I Read It? Episode 38. Today we're going to look at Clockwork by Michalowicz. One of the biggest frustrations businesses face is feeling like they're running all over the place and getting nowhere. This is especially true of solo business owners that are doing so much of the work. In the midst of this frustration is where Clockwork by Michalowicz is here to help. Probably the biggest takeaway from the book is that repeatability in your business equals scalability. If you're doing a bunch of services that aren't repeatable among clients, don't expect to scale well. Expect to always be stuck doing the work instead of being able to delegate it. Here's a quote from Michalowicz. The biggest cause of business inefficiency is variability. The more services you provide to a wider mix of customers, the more variability you have, and the harder it becomes to provide extraordinary and consistent services. Michalowicz says that when we are in this place of doing so much of the work, we easily succumb to the lie of working more hours. We figure that if we just work harder, we'll make it through some breakthrough, and then we'll finally have the breathing room we want. Here's how he says it. Work harder is the mantra of both the growing and collapsing business. Work harder is the mantra of every entrepreneur, every business owner, every A-player employee, and every person just struggling to keep up our perverted idea about working longer, faster, and harder than everyone else in our industry. What we miss there is that more hours does not equate to more value creation. In fact, as we put in more hours, we often are giving our least optimal brain power towards the tasks we're doing. We're so worn out from the hours that many of them are junk hours. Again, this is where Clockwork has been written to help us. Michalowicz wants to help us slay the time monster. He wants to help us build a business that can run well even if you take a vacation for 4 weeks. In fact, this 4-week vacation is one of the first challenges Michalowicz asks of readers. He asks us to, in the next 18 months, schedule a 4-week vacation. Then, spend that next 18 months prepping for it. There's a whole chapter with a timetable of tasks to help us prep for that vacation. One of the threads through Michalowicz's books is Constraints Help Us Win. In Profit First, Michalowicz gets us to limit how we deal with our income by percentages. He gets us to take the profit out of our business first. By dividing your income up based on percentages, you limit what you have to spend. You can't just purchase what you want, or maybe pay yourself what you want. If you're short on cash, you need to do more sales. That constraint is what gives the system its power. It identifies problems in your business early. I've moved my business over to Profit First. A bunch of my coaching students have used it to great success. It's changed their business, and the initial pain of a bit less income has been more than offset by the huge gains they've made in revenue as business problems have been identified. Michalowicz takes the same tack in Clockwork. If you give yourself all your time to do work, then you're taking all the time doing work. Here's a quote from the book. Whatever time you give yourself to work, you'll use. Nights, weekends, vacations. If you think you need it, you'll work right through your time off. You substitute butt and seat time for running a smart business. Here's another quote from Clockwork. Working longer hours does not require us to step out of our comfort zone, or learn something new, or let go of our ego-driven need to micromanage. Instead, much like Profit First, Michalowicz recommends you divide your time up based on his 4D time matrix. And that puts your time into these percentages. 80% of your time is for doing, 2% is for making decisions for others, 8% is for delegating outcomes, 10% is designing for greater efficiency. Note that I've been capitalizing doing if you're reading this. Now you know why. You're, like me, probably spending too much time doing the work and not enough time in the other Ds of your business. Once Michalowicz has introduced us to his 4D mix, he asks us to evaluate our time based on his 4 categories. I found that I spent 95% of my time doing work. I did have a bunch of design time due to my reading and thinking about business. I do little delegation and make few decisions for others though. Now that's because I'm a solo business owner in some ways. Now you're likely asking how you start this process of moving yourself from doing the work to not being needed. According to Michalowicz, you start by determining where you want to go. Here's how he says it. Because a business that doesn't devote time to determine where it wants to go, seeks ways to get there, and identify the landmarks that will offer the most directed route, is destined to spin in circles for eternity. So if you're not doing this, you're just going to keep struggling. I do this with my bootcamp program. We spend the first few weeks designing where we want to go so that we can build the business we always wanted to have. Without the design phase, so many business owners would end up building something they hate. After that, it's time to focus on the 80% doing metric. Michalowicz contends that if you track only that metric, the rest of it pretty much falls into place. You should be, at least until you have a team to do it for you, spending your time doing work because that's how you get paid. The problem is that most business owners always stay here and are spending way too much time doing work anyway. Many business owners will say that they need to spend more than 80% doing time because their business can't be delegated. It can't be streamlined. Michalowicz has something to say about that. Here's what it is. The next time you dare say my business can't be streamlined or I need to do all the work, take a pause. You're lying to yourself. Your business can run on its own. If an old school painter can do it, you sure can too. The painter he talks about is Sir Peter Lely. Lely was famous for his faces in portraits. Because that's what he was best at, he formalized the poses and stuff that went around the people he was painting. He painted the face and then assigned a pose to the painting, which is where his team came in. They painted the rest of it. He stuck with the thing he was best at, the faces. That means you need to start asking yourself, not how will the work get done, but who will do the work? Who will set up the site for the client? Who will write the content for that about page? It doesn't have to be you. It just has to be someone that can follow the process to repeat amazing work. One of the crucial parts to streamlining your business is deciding what the main role of your whole business is. What is the single thing that needs to happen week in, week out for your business to be successful? To find this, Michalowicz walks us through an exercise with sticky notes. Step 1 is to write your top 6 important tasks down. Step 2, take 2 of those away. Step 3, take 2 more away. Step 4, take 1 away. The single thing that you're left over is your QBR, or your queen bee role. This is the single thing that must be protected at all costs. Only when this role is being done well do you make time for anything else in your business. In the show notes, I'll link to a video of me doing this exercise. As I worked through it, my QBR is writing. That means if I'm not writing, I need to stop everything and figure out how to write again. If you have a team, then everyone does this exercise. Then you take the notes from each person and put them together for the business. Next, you eliminate with the team down to a single item. That's the business QBR. When you have the business QBR, everyone is in service of this. If the QBR isn't being served, everyone stops until it is served. Only then are they free to go back to their own singular QBR. Here's a quote from the book. The number one goal for you and for everyone on your team is to protect the QBR so the QBR can drive the business forward without distraction or interruption. Another exercise that Clockwork asks you to do is hub and spoke chart. The hub is your QBR. The spokes are the other tasks you do. The further they are from the hub, the less you should be doing them. If my QBR is writing, then one of the furthest things away is billing or my taxes. I should be outsourcing those things first. I do get someone to do my taxes yearly for me already, but what process would it take for me to outsource the billing of freelance writing I do? Those are the questions I should be asking as I define my QBR. One of the key thoughts in Clockwork is that you don't need to serve the QBR. In fact, if you do, when you slow down, your business slows down. If you take that 4-week vacation, your business is also taking a vacation. Now here's a quote from Clockwork. The day Tony Robbins or Marie Forleo or you, if you decide to solely serve your QBR, decide to call it quits, the business quits. When you decide to slow down, the business will slow down. When you are the sole server of the QBR, you are the heart of the organization. For me, who is the only person in my business serving the QBR, that means when I stop writing, there's no QBR happening. Now, in some ways, this can be mitigated if I have a team that does book marketing for me. Income will still come in through my books without me writing another one currently. It also means I've asked myself a bit if my QBR should change. Should my QBR be training business owners to run a good business, or helping fathers have enough time for their business and their kids? Now, some of this would be books. Some of this would be video courses. All of it could be served by others producing that content for me in various ways. While Michalowicz leaves this until later in the book, I think it's more important to answer this question up front. If you don't know who you're serving, then your business can't have a focus for its services and its products. If you don't have a focus, that's a niche, people, then all the automation in the world isn't going to help you. Clockwork tells us to stop asking how we serve clients in favor of asking who we serve. Here's how it says it. Ask how less and who more. Who do I serve? This is the most important of all questions a business owner who is looking to streamline their business can ask. Yet we rarely ask it. Once you know who you serve, then you can decide how to serve them best. If your market is on Facebook, then serving them through Facebook is great. If they hate Facebook and they always meet in person, then serving them in person is best. I wrote a big section on how to figure this out in The Art of Focus, and this is one of the places I think the book falls down just a little bit. Michalowicz tells us to figure out whom we serve, but doesn't do a great job at giving us a clear path so we can, in fact, figure this thing out. There's some help, but there are much better books to help this, like the book, The Art of Focus. Once you've figured out whom you serve, you can move on to the rest of the book. Now, streamlining your services, and let's start this with a quote. For a business to run like clockwork, you must have consistent delivery of your offering. You need to have a predictable process that yields a predictable output, and to do that, you must reduce variability. With capturing, the key is that you build systems. When systems are set out, others can follow them. You don't have to serve these roles anymore. One thing that Michalowicz warns us about is that when you see your systems not being followed, we shouldn't be angry with people. The systems likely make the work harder, is what that means. Here's what he says. People are like rivers. We will seek the easiest path to get where we are going. And when you see your employees ignoring your SOPs, that's your standard operating procedures, that's a sure sign the SOPs aren't working. The lack of following the SOP is a sign that you need to change them to suit your people, not that you need to force your people to change, unless there's some regulatory thing. The second thing that Michalowicz warns us about is that we shouldn't be writing out some 72-step process. He says that we should record a video of us doing the work and then give it to the person who's doing it next. When they find an issue or it needs to change, get them to record the next video and update the documentation. He even recommends that YouTube has a bunch of videos already done for us for free, so just use those. Take a few minutes to checking out what's available, and maybe your first SOPs should just be what everyone else has already built. Then let your people update them later. Now, I also think that Michalowicz has chapters 6 and 8 out of order. Chapter 6 is about balancing the team, and 8 is about having a dashboard of metrics for your business. I wonder how you balance a team, though, without having that dashboard for your business first. According to Clockwork, you have these 4 areas in your business: acquire, convert, do, and collect. I talked about this AC/DC idea as it relates to my business already, and there'll be a link to that in the show notes. Your business dashboard should have at least one metric in each of these 4 categories. For acquire, maybe it's the number of people on your email list. Conversion could be the people that move from subscribers to paying customers in a certain amount of days. Doing is how are you delivering on your content and who continues with a purchase monthly or makes a referral to a friend. For collect, what's the income looking like? Once you have a dashboard, you can start to balance your team since you have some metrics and can see some gaps. The biggest key that Michalowicz introduces when it comes to balancing your team is that you shouldn't be hiring for roles. Say you hire a receptionist. He's great on the phone, but terrible at greeting people at the desk. Does that make him a terrible receptionist? Not really. It just makes him poor at one aspect of the job. Maybe have him be the front line on the phones and make sales call with his winning phone skills as well. If you have a team, watch for the traits that your people excel at and then help them use these skills across the company. If you're just starting the hiring process, then your goal should be getting out of doing phase and doing more in the design phase of your business. Here's a quote from the book. The goal for early stage hires, and every stage hires for that matter, is to free up you to focus more on designing and less on doing, and that can't happen soon enough. Knowing that, maybe my first hire should be editing and posting content. Is there a reason that after I do a read through of this article for content, I need to go back over it for grammar or spelling? I mean, I struggle with those, but is it really the best use of my time? Is editing my podcast and posting them the best use of my time? Or should I produce the content and serve the QBR? He saves one of the biggest pitfalls of getting your business to work like clockwork until the end. It's gonna be you. As you streamline your business, you realize that much of it may be going on without you. You're no longer the focus of your business, and so you feel less useful. Don't fall into the trap of firing off a bunch of emails to get back into the flow of your business. Stay back, track your metrics, and optimize how the work flows through your business. Stick with designing. Here's what Michalowicz says. Thinking about your business, designing your business takes a lot of energy and concentration. So, because we're humans, the natural instinct is to distract ourselves by doing the work. It may sound crazy that hard work is easier than hard thinking, but it is. This gets hard because there isn't an obvious output to designing. It's not like you can finish a design session and say that you just wrote 3,000 words. This newfound freedom may also see those around you pushing back on what you're doing. When your spouse, parents, or in-laws see that you're not working as much, they may wonder where the money is going to come from. Again, stick with the plan and stay with design. Use your AC/DC dashboard to track the metrics and share the important stuff with those around you that you need to know. No, your parents and in-laws don't need to see your income. Share that with your spouse or partner and put some good boundaries with the others. Now, the 4-week vacation. That brings us to the real end of the book now. An 18-month plan to take a 4-week vacation. Michalowicz gives us a plan with milestones and mini vacations to take so that we can test our business and make sure it's ready. At the end, we take a full 4 weeks away from the business. This episode of Should I Read It is brought to you by my latest book, The Art of Focus. If you're tired of running around trying different ideas and getting no traction, if you are tired of having ideas, but you never actually get to work on them, if you're just tired, then The Art of Focus is for you. It's going to give you the exact systems I've used to build my ideal life, set up my time so that I can really work and get lots done in the 6 hours a day that I work most days, and test my ideas in the marketplace so that I know they succeed. You can purchase it on Amazon at curtismchale.ca/recommends/AOF. Now our final question. Should you read Clockwork by Michalowicz? I love constraints. I wrote a whole book about how going with an analog planner helped me do more work because I couldn't track 1,000 things I was never going to do anyway. I adopted Profit First and I have loved every minute of it. So, I love the time constraints that Clockwork imposes on a business. I'm just finishing out how I track the 4D mix best so that I can have a metric on my time. I'm working on the AC/DC metrics and figuring out what's a valid set of them for me. Yes, I do think you should read Clockwork by Michalowicz, at least if you want to run a business that doesn't take up all your time. Thanks for listening to Should I Read It? To support the show, you can leave me a review in iTunes or a heart or a star in whatever podcast player you use. These help more people find the show. If you want to get more reading done, you should get an Audible membership. If you use curtismchale.ca/recommends/audible, that will help the production of the show financially.